So continuing in the Homo Mysticus, but this has a lot to do with golden doves. This is only the preface. So it really does have a lot to do with golden doves. And there's a great sentence here that I want to talk about. Modern Jewish scholarship, inaugurated by Wissenschaft des Judentum, grew amid a profound spiritual and intellectual alienation right, so what does that mean? I think the best way to talk about this is as follows. People talk about the different methods of studying the Torah, of studying the Gemara, the Andalusian method, the Polish method, the Lithuanian method, the Alaskan trout method, the Norwegian method, the Kibeh Hamda method. Okay, those are all ways to study the Gemara. I'm not against any of those methods. The problem is when you talk about methods to study Gemara, what does that even mean? And that's a Western category of thought. The method, we have our own traditions. We have our own way of approaching text. It's not a method. For us, textuality is part of our system of thought. It just, if you're not part of our system of thought, then you shouldn't be studying our text. So no, Goyim shouldn't be studying our text. So, Wissenschaft des Judentum, they were Jews, unfortunately. Elohim Yishmor. I mean, Meharevaich u'meharechai u'mehareseich mimech yeseu. So what happened is they started studying the biblical texts in accordance with certain methodologies. By methodologies we mean Western methodologies. Well, why not? It is essentially Oedipal and anti-book. Of course, these methods, the purpose is not to respect the book or to read the book. The purpose is to destroy the book. It's anti-book. And in that sense, it's Oedipal. So it's Oedipal in the sense that the same way the son wants to kill the father, these secular Jews, and Goyim also, they want to destroy the book. How do you attack Hashem? You can't attack Hashem directly. So you attack Hashem by attacking his book. Right? So I'm starting to get comfortable. The methodology shares Jewish texts from their literary character, treating them as documents void of literary sense, and then applies to them the categories and subdivisions growing in the West as a consequence of the splitting of the Logos. Yeah, I love it. The documentary hypothesis. Shuhada, documentary. I don't know what documentary is. I'm just a simple Jew. All I do is study Torah and Gemara and I know Sharach, I know Ma'ana. I don't know what documentary means, right? What does it mean, documentary? Does any apply? View William Shakespeare as plays Hamlet. I will apply the documentary hypothesis to Hamlet, right? What is that? It's a piece of literature. Only a hamor, a real hamor. And I don't wish to insult hamorim by what I'm saying now. So please, I apologize to the hamorim for comparing them to the biblical critics, but I have no better word. Only a hamor would apply the documentary hypothesis to William Shakespeare. It's a piece of literature. Any literature creates intentional tension and even sometimes intentional contradictions. That's part of the methodology, if I can use the same word that they use, of literature. That's what literature does all the time. It views things from different perspectives. It has a pluralistic approach oftentimes in the sense that it respects the individuality of the person experiencing that which he's experiencing. So this whole idea of the documentary hypothesis is ludicrous. I'd like to one day apply the documentary hypothesis to the origin of the species of Darwin. That should be a lot of fun. And of course, then they apply, ideas that make sense to a great thinker. For them, there's all these contradictions. So everything has to be contradictory. So you have the splitting of the logos. So this text contradicts that text, oh my gosh, there's things in Divrei Hayamim that contradict things in other parts of the Tanakh. So for them, everything is a contradiction. For us, there's no contradictions. For us, there's intentional tension created by the author to allow the reader to generate certain meanings and to appreciate certain perspectives. So let me just switch my head here. I'm not in my office and it's a little harder for me to do these classes, but I do want to do them because I think it's important. That's the rising sun. I prayed nets. Okay. So the methodology shares Jewish texts from their literary character, treating them as documents, right? We read that. A similar methodology affects the scientific study of Jewish philosophy. This is a great contribution that my father has to the study of Harambam. We have the scientific study of Harambam. What the heck does that even mean? The scientific study of Harambam. Science is a Western category of thought. Why would that in any way be relevant? You know what I want to do? I want to do the scientific study of Japanese sushi from the Okinawa province. You know, what is that? I mean, would anybody in their right mind consider that to be worthy of a line in a single book? That's the scientific study of my mom's Kibeh Hamda, right? I want to really understand scientifically what the Kibeh Hamda is really about, right? Every Friday night we would have Kibeh Hamda at home. Let's do a scientific study of Kibeh Hamda. So, the scientific study of Jewish philosophy, especially Harambam. We have to do the scientific study of Harambam, because what better way to destroy a man's writings than to do the scientific study of his writings? And it's science after all, so you don't want to be anti-science, right? I mean, that's not a good thing, right? Who wants to be anti-science? At least designated as unscientific. Maimonides, now that we have scientific leaders in the White House, you're going to see how the COVID will suddenly disappear, like magically it'll disappear, because it's the scientific approach to COVID will make it disappear. Until now, we were using witchcraft, and the witchcraft wasn't working, so we're going to have the scientific approach to COVID-19, right? That's why the death rates have suddenly plummeted in the U.S., because till now it was black magic. Of course, you replace black magic with science. So, Maimonides explicitly disclaimed any interest in or preeminence on either physics or theology. Harambam was not interested in physics. I mean, he brings it to the extent that you need to understand physics, because you can't be a complete boor in order to understand anything. And he certainly wasn't interested in theology. The works written, and now my father is quoting, the works written about these are sufficient. And if they are wanting in some of their aspects, whatever I would have to say about the particular subjects will not be better than what has already been said. Here Harambam is saying explicitly, I have nothing to say about physics. Whatever I have to say was already written. I have nothing to say about theology. Whatever I have to say was already written. So to assume that some of the book of the Moreh has to do with physics or theology is ludicrous. Philosophers deal with ideas. Jewish thinkers deal with text. Right? Philosopher, the text is marginal to the idea. Exactly. We don't study ideas. Give me the svara, and you give me I count the svara, and then another svara, and then a svara on the svara, and the nishmita of the svara, and finally we have the nishmita of the svara. The Gemara brings pesukim. We analyze text. We analyze Beraitot. We analyze Toseftot. We analyze Midrashei Halacha. It's all based on text. We're interested in what the text has to say because meaning is generated by text. You may like philosophy, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with philosophy, if that's what you like. But it has to be that Judaism is not interested in philosophy as in the sense of abstract ideas. No, Judaism is interested in actual text. For a philosopher, the text is marginal to the idea. The inverse is true with Jewish thinkers. Yet the guide is treated as if it were a book on philosophy, right? So treat the guide as a book on philosophy, and then analyze it in that light. And what do you get? You get nonsense, or Narishkeit.